people talk about, having their why, right?
Yeah.
That can be your why. I hate this job. I don't want to do it anymore. I want to move on to something else. So that is why I am saving this emergency fund so that I can fund my way exit, right? Out of it.
And maybe, maybe for somebody else, it's not that's not their why.
Not that drastic.
Their why, their why might be the fact that, they have kids and they would do anything to take care of their kids, and they want to know, let's say my husband gets hurt at work and can't work for 3 months. I have this fund to make sure that my kids don't have to quit dance classes. My kids don't have to get pulled out of school.
That's right.
My kid, so your why might be different than somebody else. Your why is going to be different, but you need to find the why.
Exactly.
The why is the motivation for doing it. And I really would challenge people to sit down and think about it. Because if you're doing it just because someone said you should, you're never going to do it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We don't do things, I should go to the gym every day. Do I? No. But if I know why I'm going to the gym, maybe I'm going to the gym because I have to wear a bathing suit next week.
Yeah.
And that's why I go, So find your why, whether, sit down and kind of start jotting on a piece of paper. Why would an emergency fund change my life? How and why would this change my life? And how much do I need?
Right.
And that's why it's not a set amount in an emergency fund. I always tell people, think about your life. Think about how long, let's say your income stops.
Right.
How long would it take for you to make decisions, to get another job, to figure out what you're doing? And oftentimes people are like, oh, somewhere between 3 to 6 months. Very rarely is it going to be longer than that. However, if for your situation, it might. You might be like, you know what? It takes about 9 months for me to deal with the trauma of, losing my job, figure out what I want to do, So if you are one of the people that it takes the 9 months, you're going to want to have an emergency savings that's about 9 months of income. If you're one of those people that's like, I will get 2 jobs, I will work at Starbucks, and I will work at the grocery store, and I don't care, you might not need 9 months. You might want to say, okay, I'm going to give myself 3 months, So that's how you're going to figure out what your fund is.
Yes.
And then you know why you're working towards it. Yeah. And it's a lot easier to get there.
Right. And like Elizabeth said, it's just not building fast enough. I need to do something else. I need to do more. I need to pick up enough shifts, pick up another table, be nicer to the people who are there, whatever you have to do to make the money come in faster,
quicker,
because you have those sub savings that are labeled.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that idea.
People feel like, oh, it's emergency savings. I have to save forever and ever and ever and ever. No, it's no. What you're doing is you're saving until you reach the goal in your savings account.
Yes.
And if you, after that, you can, if let's say you want to fund your Hawaii account a little bit more, or if you want to fund your health account a little bit more, or you want to start a Roth IRA for your retirement, all of a sudden you're starting to think of, that's when you start. You don't need to save the same amount in the emergency fund forever. Once you hit your goal, then you divert whatever funds you were saving into
something else.
To something else, whether it's starting a business, whether, because let's imagine you want to start a business and you are not sure, oh my gosh, this is so scary. If you're starting a business with a full emergency fund, it's a whole different mindset a whole different confidence level than starting an emergency fund when you have nothing in the bank. And if this doesn't work, I'm totally
messed up.
Going to be in trouble. So
that's a strategic plan.
Yeah.
That's
strategery.
Strategery.
I'll tell you too, like the only reason I can say for myself that I've had for the past several years had the motivation to, even though I do have some bad habits that I need to work on, like borrowing for myself, but I definitely have a threshold that I don't go below.
Yes.
And the reason why is because years ago I was in a freeway pileup, and I only had liability insurance because my car was paid off. Which, first of all, when this car is paid off, I am not going to only have liability insurance. I learned my lesson on that, but I only had liability insurance. So I just remember standing on the side of the road and being like, I'm carless.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna have a car for a while. I had $0 of emergency funds. I didn't have money for a down payment for a new car, and I would never want to be in that situation again.
Right.
So my threshold is a down payment for a car.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then let's say you have that as your title,
Yeah.
I never want to be carless.
Right.
and I actually
That's
tell
good.
Remember when you were carless?
I actually tell people to that you don't have to call it, you can name it whatever you want, whatever is the push to keep you focused. Just name it that. Like, that's a memory that you're like, I never want to be in that situation again,
Yeah.
So that's why
Totally gonna do it.
give yourself the tools that keep you motivated.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not working with somebody who's going to keep, being like, hello, are you doing what you're supposed to be doing? Be that person for yourself. Give yourself the tools that will keep you going. Like for you, I never want to be carless. That's gonna, if you see that every time you log into your bank and you see I never want to be carless, and you look at the numbers, you're gonna be like,
that's right,
you're gonna be like, okay, I'm finding that extra $10 because I never want to be carless.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. I'm not kidding. I'm going to change my savings account to that.
To never want to be carless.
Because you're right. It's to be able to remind yourself of whatever that motivating factor is. And for me, that's it. Like to not fall below a certain threshold.
Yeah.
Or to have a higher amount for a down payment in case something like that happens.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like naming it something like that also adds a personal touch to it. You always say that people are like distant from their money, or like they can turn a blind eye to it easily. And I remember you saying it's more personal to spend cash as opposed to just swiping a card. Like when you name an account, I feel like that makes it more personal than
absolutely,
especially something so descriptive.
Yeah, exactly.
So specific.
It's like a monologue.
And it's kind of
I was on the side of the highway. And my car's broken down.
And you have all that in the title, right?
Name of the savings.
If it fits, I'll do it.
Right? Why not? Why not? Why not? This is wonderful. So, what I love about this conversation is it gives a person the ability to, I don't know about you, but I'm re-energized. I'm going to go back and look at mine and see where I can add some more sub-accounts. So I'll have like a...
Well, and when you name it and when you really personalize it, you'll do the thing where you actually make it a priority in your budget. Oftentimes what people do is they go, okay, my income for this month, okay, I got to pay rent, I got to pay bills, food, I want to buy some jeans. Ari
wants a new pair of jeans, you guys.
Which is so funny because I totally don't. But and then you're like, okay, well that leaves me, so I have $50 left, so I'll save that $50.
Right.
And because I'm supposed to save $50.
Right.
So, but what happens is when you personalize the account and you're like, okay, this is my get out of jail free money. This is my go to Hawaii money. You're like, okay, so here's our budget again. Now we're going to go rent, bills, so my electricity doesn't get cut off. Then we're going to go savings. Then we're going to go food. Because you can adjust your food.
That's right.
You can adjust your food. You can say, okay, I'm going to eat out less. I'm going to, do things slightly differently. So you move your savings up. When you connect to it personally, you move it up in priority.
Yes.
And so it's no longer weighed down at the bottom of the list. It's now at the very top of the list, equal to the things that you need in life. Like I need a roof over my head. I need, electricity. I need water. And I need to save because I really want to do these things, as opposed to, all the other small stuff that adds up and will suck away all your money without you even realizing it.
That's perfect.
That's so true.
And your savings grows a lot faster when you prioritize it.
Yeah.
As opposed to if you try to save whatever's left over at the end of the month.
There's never anything left over because you can always think of something to spend money on.
Right? And life happens.
Yeah. And that's exactly it.
It's really interesting because things tend to, if you're one of those people who designates, okay, I'm going to save this month, this is part of my bills, I save, a lot less weird things happen in the month to suck your money away. Like, those things that come up, they only seem to come up when you're like, when you're not planning and when you're like, oh, I was going to save that $100, but no, of course the headlight on my car went out,
Parking tickets.
But you find that
please don't talk about parking tickets. I'm sensitive to that right now.
So is he.
I have one right now, and it's $55, and I'm going to go home and pay it today because if not, it'll be $550.
Exactly.
Right.
Oh, okay. I had my moment. Go ahead. Sorry.
But that's the thing is like these things when you prioritize savings, somehow these little things drop off. And I don't know if it's more of you start paying more attention and.
Well, you have that Hawaii fund. You don't want $55 if it going to a ticket.
So you're going to pay a little bit extra attention when you're parking.
Exactly.
Right.
It's things sort of have a way of shifting. Those little things that come up to suck your money away, they don't come up.
They don't come up.
I feel like I see why, because in terms of parking, I'm bitter too. I don't have a car right now. It's so lovely. So I have the honor and privilege of biking a lot of places. And I'm so fit because of it. But one time I borrowed my mom's car for a week, and I knew the street cleaning in my heart. I just knew it was on the side that I parked. I parked on the right side in my head. I remember I woke up really early. And I was like, oh, should I get up and check? I was like, no. I went out. I had 2 parking tickets.
Oh, no.
And then when I went to go pay it, there was a third. I kid you not.
Oh. Wow.
So, like, if I knew that, like, do I really want to chance that in my savings? I would have gotten up. I would have been like, just go real quick, just run across the street. Oh, then I would have magically moved my car, and I would have saved hundreds of dollars.
It's because the value of your savings becomes so much more important. And so you're like, okay, you know what? I'm going to get out of bed just to double check.
To make sure.
Because let's say.
I didn't even know you could get 3 parking tickets. Isn't one the max? Like, she parked here wrong.
This is Los Angeles.
Do it again. Like, let's just remind her. Like,
yeah, I'm glad that you said that too, because I've literally thought before, like, I wonder if I put an old parking ticket on my car, if I can park on the wrong side of the street.
Nathan.
The answer is no.
I'm not saying this on radio, but
yes, you are.
But I'm just saying, I have thought about that.
You'll have a stack.
So it doesn't work.
You'll have a ticket for putting the ticket on your thing.
Exactly.
So obviously I haven't tried it.
No.
I actually really haven't tried it, but now I know not to try it.
You'll get to the judge and he'll be like, Nathan, the old ticket, you didn't pay that one either, right?
Let's use that example. Let's say you were thinking about doing that, and let's say you go, okay, if I get a ticket, I'll just pull it out of my savings. Or let's say if I get a ticket, I have to pull it out of my Hawaii fund.
No ticket.
You would
You'd
be like, I am
further.
not even going to bother trying to
Yeah.
park. I'll walk a little farther. I'll park a little farther. It's that small thing that just sort of brings everything, very personal. You're like, oh, I'm not giving up my Hawaii fund. But when it's like, okay, you tend to give 100% when you're connecting it to something you really want, and you tend to give maybe like 80 to 90% when it's just arbitrary.
Yeah.
So,
well, there's no end goal in sight. And you're talking about a concept that I talk about a lot when I'm helping people get organized, is being intentional.
Yes.
And once you're intentional and you have a reason for doing A, B, and C, it changes everything.
Yeah.
Rather than I'm just doing this because I should. Because if you're like me, the minute that I should do something, I'm not going to do it.
Absolutely.
That's very true. You are the rebel.
So true.
He is definitely the rebel, right?
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not doing it. Why? Because you told me to. It's like, okay.
You said I should, so I'm not going to. But then if there's a reason, if there's a personal reason, and I add that personal touch to the reason for me saving, then it makes more sense, because it's not I should, it's I want.
Yeah.
I want.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, you know what? I like this much better because it gives you more of a diverse answer to the question, because I'm sure everybody wants to save, right? And no one wants to do it. It's just that painful thing that we know we have to do or need to do, that now we can add flowers around.
Yeah.
Personalize, right? Personalize the account, add the name to it that you want. And then it gives you passion to drive the money into that vehicle. So I love it.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm all geared up and I want to.
I know.
Go
it's
get,
like
a
let's run over to the bank now and open accounts.
Like a craft party, we should have like a savings account party.
Right?
Get our new school supplies. Like, I'm so excited.
You have a folder and you put you rip out pictures from magazines, or you print out things and you stick it in.
Like
and that's,
cute shoes.
Exactly. And
or Hawaii or new jeans.
Who's to say that you can't have a new clothing savings account?
Well, I thought of that. I want a shoe account.
Who's to say that
Don't whisper, Elizabeth. I saw you.
you can have whatever.
I said me too.
There you go.
I want to. What was it? Shoes.
Yeah.
Have a shoe fund, have a shoe account, and definitely if you have a shoe account, I would say
you should have other accounts above it. Lots of other accounts above a shoe account.
But go ahead and get a shoe account,
right.
and then when you have that moment of, oh my God, these are the last pair in my size and they're on sale, then you'll be like, oh, shoe fund.
I have an account.
I have an account for this.
And all I think about is a $50 ticket would have been a pair of shoes.
Don't make me sick. I'm still.
I'm sorry.
This wound is new, and you know I like to budget, and it's a very fresh wound. So let's not talk about tickets. My deepest apologies.
At least you have a car to get a ticket on.
This is true.
I used to, and
to be thankful, right? I am.
Yeah. I don't want to have to do this again, but when I lived in like central LA and I didn't have a parking spot at my apartment, I would get tickets all the time, and it was like there was almost nothing that I could do about it.
Yeah, well,
like you budgeted in.
I budgeted it in. I used to do that. I used to budget $100 a month for parking tickets because I would usually get one, and they were $80 where I was.
Oh my goodness!
So I'm like, can I not have to do that again to add that to my budget?
Right.
So yes.
Well, that parking ticket, pays for your health insurance.
Yeah.
Exactly.
If you can cut that out, then.
I mean, literally.
That's true.
Yeah. That's very true. It would pay for your. Wow, it does.
So it's just it's just paying a little extra attention to those things where okay, if I double check this, if I stand in front of these 18 signs and read every single one of them, okay, I won't get a ticket, which is great because that I could use that money elsewhere.
Right.
Yeah.